Volumes such as this one come along but once in a lifetime. You are wise indeed to have opened this tome, after, I hope, laying down good coin for it. For your eyes now look upon more lore useful to spellcasters than can be found anywhere else in all Faerun. Oh, there are more powerful spells, and books that bristle with more of them, but this is the place where lore about the use of such magic appears. The reader of Volo's Guide to All Things Magical can gain a brief taste of the rich variety and many-fold complexity of the art of wielding magic, at least as human mages outside of secretive Thay and Halruar practice it. It has been said that one of the defining characteristics of a wizard is paranoia, the suspicion that most other living things in Faerun are against you, watching and preparing for the best chance to strike you down when you are asleep, hurt, under attack from another foe, or otherwise vulnerable. Whatever the truth in this belief, many mages do feel this way. I should know. I am one of them. Accordingly, most mages start to look for ways to defend themselves. Their suspicions tend to make them uneasy when it comes to trusting servants, so they either make or try to establish unshakable magical control over their own servitor creatures, or try to acquire items that store magic, often in unusual or disguised shapes, to be unleashed later. Such items are always difficult and expensive to make, usually soon exhausted in their powers and in constant short supply. Their rarity is due in part to the fact that most of them can be wielded by anyone who knows how, thus offering non-spellcasters their only chance to ever command magic. Chapter 1. Wizards and their games. So, many mages make their own magical items, or at least try to make their own. It is rare to find a clear and complete set of instructions on how to make an item thoughtfully written down by a wizard, because the same suspicions that most wizards harbor about the world lead them to hide any writings they make, encrypt or deliberately distort what is written, and even split their writings into different formats and hiding places, so that all pieces must be assembled for the process to work, and as many pieces as possible are dangerous to anyone following what they say in isolation. For example, an item involving the summoning of an elemental might have its process split into a fragment that takes the follower to the point of bringing an uncontrolled elemental to his or her presence, a second fragment that describes governing the elemental through what it is needed for and then releasing it from all control, and a third fragment that details how that elemental can be safely dismissed. Any mage lacking that third fragment is placed in great danger by following the writings. It is also true that in the making of potions and items, perhaps more than in any other aspect of sorcery, there are many ways to achieve a desired end. One mage's wand of magic missiles may be made in a very different way than the same item made by another sorcerer, even though this is a relatively simple, straightforward item. Typically, the making of an item begins with design, some experimentation follows, and then comes the refinement of the design until a mage believes she or he has hit upon a workable process. And then, as the old saying goes, chaos storms in. Simple single-function items may be made by casting an enchant item spell on a suitable physical object, usually one that has been specially prepared and magically cleaned. That spell allows the caster to weave other spells into the item, effectively storing spell energies so that whoever holds the item may wield magic, even if he or she cannot cast spells to preserve the item or imbue it with a power. This requires the process of understanding the item to be imbued within the item itself. So a common wielder may use the item, items with multiple effects, even something as simple as a classic wand of lightning, which can emit forked or straight bolts, or instead unleash its powers in a shock attack, tend to be more stable and to have more chance of operating properly when done, if constructed by a more complex process. Most wizards make very few permanent items in their lives, and the necessary time, trouble, and expense of such processes, not just the weakening of constitution involved in working a permanency spell, are important reasons why. In this guide, I present a sample method for the making of a multifunction magical item, modelled in part on craftings I participated in when training under Rodolphin of Starmantle, and upon several processes I observed in the towers of various mages in Baldur's Gate, Serlun, Telflam, Surlegol, and Yhorn. Examination of this method should yield suggested routes for crafters of magical items to follow in the making of other items. One of the classic horror stories among wizards, told by many a mage to keep the least bold of his or her apprentices from unauthorized rummaging, is the tale of an item sucking the essences of any living beings, touching it into itself. Such trap items do exist, often created by liches or would-be liches to gain themselves younger, fresher bodies, but they are not as common as legend would have you believe. Incidentally, to bring any such item into a mage fair is grounds for disintegration on the spot. It has long been suspected that Zastam, Zolkir of Necromancy and Thay, has established several such items in his various holds and towers as traps for ambitious red wizards seeking to unseat him and adventurers hired to destroy him. The royal bedchamber in Castle Tether once sported a glowing, jewelled broadsword that floated enticingly above its own purple-cushioned plinth beside the canopied regal bed. It is known to have claimed the wits of several would-be assassins whose drained, lifeless bodies were found collapsed beside the plinth on several mornings down through the decades. Where it came from and where it has gone to are both mysteries lost in the history of strife-torn Tether, which only recently has come out from under its long civil war. But at some time previous to the struggles, the Sword of Doom vanished from the bedchamber. Doors that accomplish the same fell end are rumoured to be in use in Hal Ruar, and legends insist that at least one noble family of Waterdeep, the House of Zor, now outcast, had a door that operated with such powers only when specially activated. This deadly portal made rivals vanish during seemingly innocent feasts and meetings held in House Zor. More common are trap items willingly entered by wizards and clerics who have prepared them as hiding places or instruments to preserve their essential selves in bids for immortality through lichdom or other means. It should be noted that most humans lack the strength of will and depth of experience to keep from going insane in the experience of transferring their consciousness to a storage item. The Archmage Nathalgas of Tashluta once described the experience and its dangers as a dark, detached confinement where there is no sound but your own screaming, and nothing to be seen but your own memories in an ongoing display. This replay of memory can all too easily descend into obsession and mad repetition of favourite moments to the exclusion of all else, including sanity. Mages contemplating a stay in such a vessel should seek training and experience in dream magic, or obtain means to gain far sensings to guard against the deleterious effects of self-induced oblivion. Chapter 2. The Enchantment of Items. Even young children in the realms, if they pay any attention at all to the tales their elders spin by firesides and over tankards, know the basics of how wizards and clerics imbue items, inanimate, often quite normal objects, with the eternal fire of magic, making them mighty and valuable things that can last for centuries and serve many hands to work major changes on the realms. But few folk, even among experienced wizards and clerics of high rank and long, devoted service, know the specifics of enchanting anything beyond a simple single-use or one-function item. That is, making an item that can do more than duplicate the effect of a single spell. Clerics can pray to their deities for guidance. In fact, they had better do so if they contemplate crafting anything beyond simple potions or ward stones, as most deities take a dim view of mortals who act on their own without divine consultation while professing to diligently serve a deity. But wizards are on their own, save perhaps for occasional moments of insight sent through the grace of Mistra or Azuth, and prefaced by years of hard work. This is, in the view of many other inhabitants of Faerun, a good thing. The lack of clear, widely known, safe instructions causes accidents that remove some of the most ambitious and dangerous wizards from the realms. It also helps to slow the remaining sorcerers down in any wholehearted effort to produce items by forcing them to spend much time in experimentation and in the procurement of rare, hard-to-find, and often ultimately unnecessary ingredients. Despite years of searching, I have been unable to find a complete, clear, fully detailed account of the making of a complex item. Such things are too well disguised and guarded by their owners. I have, however, unearthed scores of fragmentary processes, several chests worth of cryptic notes, and some talkative learned priests, lichers, archlichers, and belnorns who could explain things. Adding these aids to my own admittedly paltry experience as a wizard, I am now prepared to reveal in these pages 2 sample processes for the enchantment of a complex magical item. So read on and learn something that a few armies of wizards have died seeking knowledge about down through the ages. The process of making a complex magical item begins with an initial plan for what the item will do and preparation of the necessary focal stones. Gems that hold the spell powers of the item until its component magics are combined into a coherent, controllable whole. The necessary spells to create the effects the future item will feature are gathered or researched. Note that what spells can be best adapted may be a matter of some speculation and is not necessarily clear-cut and definite at this point. And mistakes made at the outset can doom an otherwise well-conceived item. When sufficient spells and focal stones have been gathered, the wizard or cleric governing the process casts or hires others to cast the desired spells into the focal stones by means of Dwemerflow spells that link the cast spells to the stones. In rare cases, minor magical items may be magically miniaturized and enchanted so as to be encased within a spell-generated focal stone. They can then be made part of a larger item, though it should be noted that such cobbled-together items are never as stable as one generated from raw materials, and are generally mistrusted. Abeyance spells are then cast on the focal stones to hold the enchantments within them for an indefinite time, while the rest of the item creation process is carried out. Many clerics and wizards across the realms have caches of focal stones that they have been adding to for years as they await the proper time, sufficient wealth, or the procurement of other ingredients necessary to create the finished items they envisage. The physical form of the item is then planned. It can be an existing item or several items magically melded together if such are properly purified. But more often, it is a newly created item crafted of magically prepared materials. If an item is to be made permanent, as is most common with multifunction items, it is important that inorganic substances, such as gems, metals, or stone, predominate in volume over organic components in the created shell. The exceptions to this principle are wood, or rather, certain woods which have an affinity for enchantment, and items primarily concerned with necromancy, which can have bone as their principal component. Most staves, wands, and rods are made of wood, as the old saying goes. Of these 3 are great magic born, with silver cut, oak, ash, and thorn. To these famous 3 woods, known in many magic-using planes and worlds, can be added certain Faerun varieties: blue leaf, calamtra, chime oak, duskwook, felsul, hyexel, laspar, fandar, shadowtop, silverbark, suth, vundwood, weirwood, and zalantar. The silver cut of the saying refers to the fact that wood intended for magical uses can be carved with anything, but should be initially felled or severed from its living tree with a silver-bladed implement such as an axe, hatchet, saw, adze, or sickle. Once the silver blade is used to construct an item, inorganic principal components of an item must have been affected by or in contact with a similar type of magic as one of the properties the finished item is intended to produce or command. For example, energy discharge, healing, or translocation. Or at the very least, these inorganic components must have been soaked in tinctures of substances that have been affected by or been part of such magics or natural powers, such as lightning, fire, or decay. Organic components of an item must have been gathered or harvested in a manner related to a finished item's powers, or themselves be something akin to those powers. A wand whose powers are concerned with the sea, for example, could be fashioned of driftwood, or simply of wood cut by a sailor. A wand of lightning could be fashioned from wood cut from a bough that was blasted from its parent tree by a natural lightning strike, or by a lightning bolt spell. Failing all else, an organic component can be immersed in the liquid of a completed, operable potion, whose magic is concerned with a similar subject or effect as the completed item is intended to exhibit. Substances bearing a previous dwemer that must be preserved for use in the new item must be treated with Azendel's purification spells. All other substances involved in the creation of the magical item and all liquid components of a tincture or substance bath must also be treated with this spell or with Obar's lesser purification. Clerics typically use a higher consecration spell to obtain a similar effect. When the various pieces that will make up an item have been fashioned, they must be strengthened, or the item will be no less fragile than an unenchanted object composed of its various parts. Typically, a Veladar's Vambros or Holy Night spell is cast on inorganic pieces, and a Nulathos Ninemen on organic components. Clerics typically perform rituals unique to their church to strengthen organic components. Up to 8 substances can be used in the making of an item, and these can be used in or formed into as many pieces as necessary. The pieces can be attached to each other by the usual straps, bands, bolts, plug and socket fits, wire wrappings, encasings, prong, char's claw, or bezel settings, or left separate, as desired, to be held together entirely by magic. But in any case, it is customary to make every contact between 2 different pieces of an item that are to bear an enchantment into an unshakable join by means of a Merald's Meld spell. If more than 4 different substances are to be part of the same item, a crown meld spell should be employed after all of the various lesser melds are cast to weave the melds together into what sages call a harmonic fusion. Additional pieces or later repairs can also be added by the casting of a Merald's Meld and a crown meld for each piece to be bound onto the item. When magical items explode through abuse or circumstance, it is usually because these melds call forth the powers of the item into an explosion as they fail, even though the item's powers may not normally be explosive or violent. If the magical item creation process must be interrupted at this point, a time stop spell can be cast into any crown meld existing on an item in such a way that the item is protected against decay, physical damage, or spell failure until it is next touched by a living creature, or a specific living creature, which ends the time stop. In this manner, completed but not yet empowered items and the focal stones holding the powers they are to later be imbued with can wait for years for the crowning steps of the item-making process. Often, their creators perish in the interim, and so numerous raw components of incomplete items are stored in tombs, caverns, and other hiding places all over the realms. When the item's shell is judged complete and all of the focal stones holding its powers are gathered in the same place as the shell in a setting where rest, drinking water, and freedom from interruptions are all available, the infusion of power into the item can begin. A mage covers an inorganic surface, usually a stone table, casket lid, or floor, with a mystic design enclosing the assembled item shell at its heart and linking it with a circle of focal stones. Each stone must be in a circle and the shell in a closed outline. Each circle must be linked to the shell's outline by an unbroken line, and an unbroken circle must enclose all of the other markings. A cleric repurifies an altar top by washing it with water or other liquid consecrated specially to his or her deity, and places the shell in its circle of stones so that all components are within the washed area. At this point, items that will unleash healing or necromantic powers must be anointed with an ointment, purified with Azendel's purification, Obar's, lesser purification, higher consecration, or a religion-specific ritual, composed of powdered gems of a type favorable to the magic, pure essential oil, and herbs harvested with a silver weapon, or a weapon consecrated to the item creator's deity, if a cleric, in particular and obscure conditions, such as under a full moon on Midsummer Night, in the shadow of an oak inhabited by a Dryad, or from the grave dirt of a vampire in the dark of the moon, the all-important eternal flame spell is then cast, rendering the shell ready to receive enchantments, followed by a wondrous web or holy vesting spell linking the shell with the focal stones. If cast properly, eternal flame makes the shell glow with an eerie blue, deep, powerful radiance, and wondrous web or holy vesting creates a humming network of white lines of light encircling each focal stone and linking it with a straight beam of light to the blue radiance surrounding the shell. Clerics can also transfer powers from an altar, artifact, or item, or directly cast spells into an item as a part of this process by using a ritual of transference spell instead of or in addition to holy vesting. Time now becomes critical, for this step must be completed before the wondrous web or holy vesting spell expires. This is the point at which the maker, when in direct bare flesh contact with the item's shell, enunciates the precise contents to govern the completed item, speaks any words of activation that will be involved, speaks commands the item will obey, and gives the item a name, if applicable. If the mystic design has been prepared to allow for such things, parchments inscribed with words or phrases of activation can be introduced into the wondrous web or holy vesting. In the same way the spells held in the focal stones are slowly drawn from them into the item. Dissolving the stones, such parchments shrink, shrivel, and disappear as their contents are absorbed into the item. These parchments must either be spell scrolls or bare writings done in magically formulated inks of the same sort that spells are written in. Errors, omissions, or contradictory commands introduced at this point can leave an item unusable, uncontrollable, or possessing unforeseen side effects or power loopholes. Wizards and clerics experienced in the crafting of items can often identify these immediately merely by observing how the item is mastered. Any magical item or spell crafted so as to be activated only when the caster touches it, holds it, or enters its area of activation must by definition involve a true name linked to the caster in its construction and mastering. True name is something of a misnomer. Such names are identifiers that must apply correctly to the caster, but may be pseudonyms, pet names, or favored titles or phrases. They are usually not innate, unchangeable, unique names that define the caster from birth. The Sage of Shadowdale, for instance, is a true name for Elminster. If a skilled mage or cleric of high rank gains the time and opportunity to study the finished item or spell at leisure and manages to slowly unravel the magic without triggering it, she or he can derive the true name, or true names, used in its making, and thus can learn of the item or spell's origins and something personal about its creator. Pulsings in the radiance surrounding the item shall herald the acceptance of the various elements of the mastering. A fading of darkness indicates failure of the entire process. Most often, the focal stones and any parchments fade away entirely. The mystic design follows them into oblivion, and the item glows brightly, turns and spins slowly by itself, and then settles into immobility as the glow fades. The item's infusion with magic is then complete. Finally, the empowered item is awakened by application of an awakening spell. This more powerful alternative to the enchant an item spell is less likely to end in a failure of the item. If it does cause item failure, however, the empowered shell explodes spectacularly. Chapter 3. Andratha. To illustrate the long process of making an item, let us watch the sorceress Andratha, emboldened by her mastery, in practice at least, of the spells Abeyance and Focal Stone, prepare a wand of battle. She envisions a simple wooden wand that has no command words, but rather is under the silent mental control of its wielder, who must be a wizard and is to be mentally informed of the wand's powers upon touching it. The wand is to be permanent rather than having charges, and is to have 3 powers: the ability to fire a gout of flame, the power to emit a trio of magic missiles, and the power to send a surge of healing life energy into the wielder. After much study and experimentation, Andratha creates a spell, Gout of Flame, that shoots forth a beam of flames from her hand, reaching up to 10 feet away. Andratha spends the better part of a season modifying and improving on the spell until it is an improved Gout of Flame that sends a beam of tightly focused flame up to 40 feet away. She makes several improved Gout of Flame scrolls for safekeeping and turns to the second desired power. Magic Missile is a simple enough spell, and limiting her normal casting of it down to 3 of the magical bolts by altering her incantation is easy. But she suspects that directing the missiles at up to 3 separate targets through her mental control over the wand is going to be tricky. Faced with possibly a year or more of research on this point, Andratha abandons it and turns to altering one of her more powerful spells, the symbol's Sinistod Wema, the only means she knows for converting spell energy into healing magic, into a variant form that can be used in the wand. Work on researching the spell to convert the energy of a memorized magic missile spell to healing energy takes her the better part of a year, and it is with mingled triumph and wry amusement that she dubs her variant spell Andratha's Little Victory. With her preliminary researches done, Andratha sets out to get some stones to enspell into focal stones. Deciding she needs to acquire them personally to be sure that they are pure, properly cut gemstones, she hires some adventurers in a distant city to escort her to the best dwarven gem mines she knows of. When there, she pays a steep price for all she needs, and a few extra, of what she believes to be the right gems, according to writings on focal stones she gained long ago when she was an adventuress. To avoid possible treachery, she pays off the adventurers and teleports herself and her gems back to her tower. Back in her tower, Andratha casts focal stone spells on the gems, and via Dwemerflow spells, pours her improved Gout of Flame into one, her damped down magic missile Dryad into another, and Andratha's Little Victory into a third, slapping an Abeyance spell on each stone as her spell goes in. Charging each stone takes her several days of spell study, work, and rest. Once the focal stones are safely hidden inside a hollow statuette out behind her privy, she turns her attention to how to construct the wand itself, suspecting, rightly, that her real work is just beginning. Andratha wants a wand that is resistant to flame, and yet it must be associated in some way with flame. After some research, including a long journey in disguise to consult an expensive sage, Andratha concludes that she needs to find some duskwook trees that have survived a forest fire and sever a bough from one of them with a silver-bladed axe after dousing the selected branch with potions of healing and raking it with 3 magic missile spells. Relieved that she is not going to have to stand in the full flare of a red dragon's breath weapon or hire someone to heal her, while someone else thrusts a stake that the wand will later be carved from into her, and someone else hurls magic missiles her way, Andratha begins scrying and querying. She soon locates her trees, loads up on magic missile spells and the necessary items, and harvests her wood. Taking the bow to a caravan town, she hires a woodcarver to cut and whittle a dozen or so spokes for a broken carriage wheel from it, and ignores the knowing smile he gives her. Taking her spokes home, she whittles one to a rough wand shape herself, and casts Azendel's purification twice on it to render it into a fine, slender, regular wand in the finest possible condition. Then she bathes it in a potion of healing and casts Nulitho's 9 men on it to make it durable. Andratha decides to make her wand usable by herself alone. Laboriously, she carves her personal sigil into its butt and then melts several small silver pieces in a crucible. Pouring the molten silver out on a rock, she casts Obar's lesser purification on the puddle, and then breathes on it, casts gout of flame on it, and a magic missile into it. She picks up the silver with a pair of purified tongs and places it into a smaller purified crucible with a ladle lip, where she reheats it until the silver is once more molten. Finally, she pours the molten silver into the grooves of the sigil, leaving her with a wand emblazoned with her own silver sigil. As the metal cools, she casts Emerald's Meld on the wand to fuse it and the silver sigil together. Then she gets her deepest, best hidden storage cellar, ready with a cot, chamber pot, several drinking jugs, candles, some food, a marble-topped table, some potions of healing, and her spellbooks, retrieves the hidden focal stones, and barricades herself away in the cellar behind a conjured wall of stone to make her wand at last. She places the focal stones and the wand on the table, draws a mystic design carefully linking them, and anoints the wand with an ointment made of powdered amethyst, essential rose oil, and heel mint, harvested with a silver knife on green grass, next to a pool blessed by a unicorn's horn. She then casts an eternal flame spell on the stick of wood. Following it with the wondrous web spell, Andratha quickly touches the sigil on the wand and whispers her nickname in youth, Dappleback, a cruel taunt bestowed on her by other children in the village, where she grew up because of several large moles on her back. It is a name she doubts anyone but herself remembers, but it identifies her alone. After announcing that only she is to be able to call forth its powers, Andratha, carefully following a written-out script she prepared earlier, outlines what those powers will be, not forgetting to stipulate that she will be able to bestow the healing flow of energy on another being by touching them with the wand and willing it so. As she completes her reading, Andratha recalls that she forgot to work out how the magic missiles could be directed to separate targets, so they will have to all be hurled at the same being. As the deep blue glow of the wand shell and the web of white radiances connecting it, and each of the stones pulse and flicker, Andratha can, from the pulsing, understand that the wand has taken the powers from the focal stones. Andratha checks that her potions of healing are within reach, whispers a prayer to Mistra that she finds success and not need any healing, and casts an awakening spell. The wand flashes with light, almost blinding her, but does not explode. Exhausted, Andratha feels for it, grasps it, and stumbles to her cot. Slipping the wand inside her girdle, she sleeps with it next to her. Andratha sleeps for a long time. When she awakens, she takes out the wand, holds it up, and is relieved to find that it communicates its ready powers to her. She casts permanency on it and collapses onto her cot again. This time, when she awakens, weak and ravenously hungry, Andratha takes up the wand to test its powers and finds that they all work, but that only the healing function is permanent, and it will work but 3 times a day. The improved gout of fire and magic missile powers are going to need recharging. Andratha sighs and then shrugs. She knows of no way around that necessity, but at least she has a wand. She raises it proudly as she uses her last memorized spell to blast away her defensive wall of stone. The Andratha Wand of Battle is simple and straightforward, and it only took a few years to make. Next time she feels the need for a wand, Andratha vows she will go and buy one, or find a large, alert, mage-killing red dragon who has a few in its hoard and slay it. It will be easier. To readers who trust in the sword or the dagger and hope to find in these pages a guide to how to lay mages low, I tender the following piece of very good advice. Wizards, avoid 'em. Life's better when you're not a frog. That anonymous trail saying of the Sword Coast lands has been around a long, long time, but it is best never forgotten, if you take my point. Happy reading then, dabblers in magic, and try to leave a little of the realm still standing when ye are done. Will ye not?